The New York Mets have some really good problems. What do I mean when I say they have good problems? I'll tell you. This team, I think they overdid it in the offseason just a little bit. And now they have such a deep team that you got guys like J.D. Davis, who's going to have trouble getting on the field. Cespedes is still out. Todd Frazier is still out. Jed Lowrie is still out. All right. So, what are you feeling here, Danny, about your Mets and how this is gonna pan out? I know you. First of all, you have that feeling like, okay, it's been so long since you can come into a season feeling good, right? You had a surprise season a couple of years ago where everything rolled for you, right. But to come into the season at the start of the season and look and be like, wow, we're actually in it. You know what I mean? How do you feel when you see that and know that there's probably going to be an issue there?
Like you've said, it's a good problem to have. All the signings, everything they did in the offseason, I was like, they're adding depth. What I like about it is, like, yeah, there's going to be problems like McNeil, who hit well over 300 last year in a short amount of time, but then has continued hitting this year. They said they might play him in left field. Lowry's out, Frazier's out. He moves to third base, no problem. He was an infielder anyway. When those guys come back, where do you play them? So, again, I look at it. What I like about it is every year, obviously the Mets are known for all the injuries and everything. You have what I always considered quadruple A players, where they're like too good in AAA, or you see their numbers in AAA and they seem like good players.
You're not talking about like the Ike Davises of the world.
I'm talking about I can't even remember their names now, but it was the same guys every year.
Right. I know what
filling
you
in and
Dilson Herrera.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They don't hit when they're here. When they're in the majors, they don't hit. They send them back down. What? They hit like 340.
That reminds me of my favorite April Fool's Day joke.
Nick Evans was one of those guys.
So, right. In 1986.
Okay. Thank you.
Somebody created a player that didn't exist and started the rumors through the Mets fan base about this kid, Sid Finch, who was apparently like throwing 110 miles an hour, they created the most incredible player that you could ever imagine and said that he was in the Mets system or whatever coming up. And then all the Mets fans started going crazy, and it turned out to be an April Fool's Day joke.
What's bad about that, I mean, it's funny, but it's not funny as a Mets fan, is there's been a lot of real players that they hyped up like that. Lastings Millage, Fernando Martinez.
Okay.
There's been so many players that is like 5-tool player. This guy's going to be great. Rafael Montero is another one, a pitcher. Could never start. Moved in the bullpen, wasn't that good there. So many players that they hype up as in the minors. I don't know if they were trying to increase their trade value, but it was just those same players. Those players never panned out. Those quadruple A players never panned out. So again, this is a good problem to have.
Right.
Like,
so you
they're
like
major
legit,
league players.
Like legit, even the young guys. That's
Right.
what I really like first. I like first when you're building a team, it starts with your own young guys,
Right.
and then you add to it. So the Mets legit now with Pete Alonso, with McNeil, with J.D. Davis, even though he's coming from another team, he's basically a rookie. With Nemo, with Conforto, Lagares, the pitchers, all of these guys are finally your guys. You know what I mean? New York has such a problem on all their teams with our fan bases being in love with everybody else's star. You know what I'm saying? You want Bryce Harper. You want this. You want everybody else's star, but you're never willing to raise your own. Everybody else that wins championships literally raise their own players. Yep. Other than the Yankees, and even it took them really to have to raise their own players to get out of their their doldrums in the early 90s. But, you know, New Yorkers, they want everybody else's star and never have the patience the management never has the patience to raise their own. And now the Mets finally have that. And now that all of that has blossomed, now you have Cano, you have Diaz, you have Cespedes, you have Frazier, you have Ramos, all of these guys now that you can get that are strong players from other teams that you can take and add to your mix of young players.
And veterans.
And that really makes a well-rounded team.
They teach those young guys not only are they good players, but they teach these young guys how to prepare. They share their experience with them when it comes to injuries or facing certain pitchers and certain situations. So, again, it's early. So, like I said, I'm going to be excited now, but we'll see.
So, a question for you, Danny. All right, about 2 or 3 years ago, was that the when the Mets went to the World Series?
Yeah, 2015.
2015. All right. So I've always seen from the outside looking in. I'm not a avid baseball fan. Like I've been watching baseball my entire life. I've been trying to get into it slowly each season. So the past 2 seasons, I always see that the Mets, in particular, specifically, they start off really well. Last year I think they started out 4-0. Or 5-0.
I think was it last year or the year before? They were like
last year they were good too.
Last year they started out really good. They started off really hot.
I actually liked that team last year too. I like this team better, but I really, really liked that team last year.
So that's my question. Right now they're 2-1. What is it that is making you guys say, "Oh wow, look at what they got now"? Like, what is it? I hear.
Okay, truth be told,
okay,
it's like being a Jets fan.
Okay, I can understand that. I can understand that.
They expect everything to collapse at some point.
Right,
Literally,
right.
They expect it all to collapse.
We're not as excited as it seems right
Oh,
now.
okay.
All right, no, keep on going.
Yeah, I'm waiting. Like, what is it that has you feeling a little bit more optimistic than last year?
Just the players they added, the veterans. They're solid veterans. A lot of depth, so I don't have to see those like minor league guys that aren't that good when they get called up. Mm-hmm. So like, there is going to be an issue who's going to play, but those are good problems to have. Like you have major league players on the roster now, so that gives me a little hope. But as a Mets fan, I think 98% of Mets fans always like you expect that shoe to drop. So
okay,
so
we'll see.
Okay.
I'm hoping to at least have good baseball, meaningful baseball, till at least the summer.
Listen, I always consider a success being in it until the last week of September.
And the Mets, as cheap as they are reputation-wise, they tend to add at the trade deadline when they are in there, like close.
Right.
So
what are you feeling on Dom Smith? The Dom Smith Pete Alonso dynamic with no DH in the National League. How's that going?
I always liked Dom Smith. When I saw highlights of him, even when they drafted him, his swing reminded me of Robinson Cano a little bit.
Yeah.
But and he's a good defender. Alonso doesn't have that reputation of being a good defender.
Okay.
But
Dom is 23, by the way.
Yeah, he's still young, but he has to hit to find playing time.
Right. I probably would have left him down for another year since he's still young. Pete Alonso won the job. Dom did great in spring training too, but
he might be one of those guys that goes down when the veterans come back.
Okay. Let's see. Todd Frazier.
I don't know what to do with him.
He got to go. He's got to go.
It's one of those things where like you hope he comes back, hits, so he has some value to trade him. But knowing the Mets, he comes back, hits. Everybody wants to keep him.
But see, here's the problem.
So
Todd Frazier has a track record that is so consistent. When I say that, he's consistently a 230 hitter with 20 home runs.
Right.
So there's really no...
And that whole leadership thing always helped him.
That helps.
But having more veterans on the team, Wilson Ramos, Robinson Cano, like you have more veterans now. So that I think loses a little bit of value.
Everybody healthy. What's your ideal lineup?
Oh man, including Cespedes because I try not to count him in right now.
Everybody healthy.
Because
He's not going to be gone that long.
Until Cespedes come back, I would move McNeil to left field. Lowry's at third. I think everything else pretty much stays the same. Nimmo's going to play center.
How do you feel about Nimmo as a center fielder though?
Again, it's tough because it's a pitching team. So you need that defense out there.
Right, and I think that's really what
Lagares and
I think that's what
Broxton,
broke
but-
them last year. Right, you felt like they had some defense, but the Conforto and center field
Right.
thing that can't work. Look at that. That's center field. That can't work.
It works temporarily,
Right.
but long term,
Right.
that's hard to. That's hard to do.
So
I like the defense, but Lagares has gotten so many chances,
right,
and he just doesn't hit.
and I can tell you, Keon Broxton can't hit either.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, what do? You would rather see it's going to be Nimmo, Conforto, Cespedes, McNeil as your fourth outfielder
All right.
/ move around guy. Lowrie third base, Rosario,
Yep.
Cano, who to me is one of the best deals of the offseason. I said it then. I said I wanted the Yankees to get him. And you know what I was thinking about when they were looking to move him, and people were talking about, well, we don't need a second baseman. Put him at first base. Whatever you got to do, Cano is a difference maker, and you saw it day one with the Mets. The stabilizer. You put him in the middle of the lineup. There'll be no more shifting. There'll be no more striking out this guy with people on base. He's going to put it in play, and we're going to see what happens.
He said, if they shift on me, I'm hitting it the other way every time.
Right.
So-
You can't shift on him. He'll bunt it. Robinson Cano, PEDs and all, right?
He came back from that and hit.
Exactly. But
So-
I don't feel like the PEDs gave him a hitting advantage. It gave him a recovery advantage.
That's where,
because when you look at what he does, he plays 60 games, and that's probably where he was getting that from.
A lot of people think PEDs is all about hitting more home runs and all that. I think it keeps them on the field.
Right.
So it helps them stay healthy or recover faster and lets them play more. So, yeah, you're going to put a better numbers because you're playing more games. You're healthier. You're feeling better. But I don't think it's necessarily just about hitting home runs. So
Absolutely not. And you're sold on. I was sold on Pete Alonso last summer.
yeah, I'm glad they waited.
Right. You got to wait and do the right thing with him. But what sold me on Pete Alonso was the Arizona Fall League. Right. So the Arizona Fall League is basically it's an all-star league for non-major league players. Right. So if you can imagine summer league in the NBA or something like that, it's like summer league. All right. But it's not everybody trying to make your team. There's not 30 Arizona Fall League teams. There's only like 12. So every team has one Arizona Fall League team will consist of 3 major league teams. Okay, so we'll say the Mets, the Yankees, and the Red Sox, all of their very best prospects who they're eyeing to be promoted to the majors in the next 2 years will all be on that team together. So it's literally straight up stud prospects from the bottom to the top of the league, all the way through. Pete Alonso went down there and dominated. Okay, that's what I knew.